Ciara, hello, and welcome to Anyway, the podcast where I unpack the trials and tribulations of reality TV. I am your host, Natalie McMurray, coming to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. And this week, I have some updates on the Amanda West scandal, situation, affair. I don't know if we have a collective name for it yet. Anyway, we've learned from Kyle that Kyle's a mess. I've heard rumors that Ciara and Wes were possibly still seeing each other a couple of weeks before the scandal broke. I'm unsure whether that's been confirmed or not. I've also heard some other rumors that West has been or is seeing a bunch of other women too. I don't really know what that's about. There's been mentions of a private investigator being hired to find out the truth. Not sure who the client was for that. But apparently the PI was the one that brought forth the footage of West and Amanda being intimate in his apartment, which was then shown to Ciara, and that's how the affair was confirmed to her, apparently. Paige and Hannah from Giggly Squad have briefly touched on the subject, and they are obviously Team Ciara. Duh. I saw someone post on Reddit a clip from an old episode of Summer House where Amanda and Craig are holding hands under the dinner table. This was while Paige and Craig were in the beginnings of their relationship. That's definitely a what the fuck moment. I also heard after Ciara found out that Paige had said to her that Amanda was weird with Craig while they were dating. That apparently the three of them went to dinner and Paige went to the bathroom, and when she came back that Amanda and Craig were holding hands. I don't know if all of that is true. If it is definitely weird behavior. And finally, Lindsay and Kyle have come back together for an Uber Eats ad using the tagline, Kyle's a mess. Beautiful. We love to see people making money out of chaos. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about Ladies of London, Summer House, and House of Villains Season 3, Episode 8. But I shall start with Southern Hospitality, Episode 5. We open with Joe Bradley arriving at the location for his birthday party. And he's going to throw an emo night because he's turning 30 and apparently having an existential crisis about it. There are bigger issues than turning 30, Joe. Like, how are you going to raise the rest of your money for you to go to space camp? That car ain't going to wash itself. Anyway, emo night really takes me back to post-Scandal, the sweet spot where everyone was making money from it. Everyone, that is, except Tom Sandoval. At the time, Ariana, Sheena, and Katie were doing emo nights in LA, and Sheena created yet another version of Good as Gold, an emo version. I feel like we saw her potentially joining the band that she created it with, but we've never seen or heard from them again. Probably for the best. Isn't Joe Bradley too young for the music that they play at emo night? He had to have been like 10 when My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy were popular. He also has way too sunny of a disposition to be going anywhere near the word emo. Come on, Joe Bradley, who are you fooling? Moving on, we see Mia on the phone to her dad. She tells us that some crackhead stole her shit. Not her Miss World trophy, for the love of God. And these people seem to throw the term crackhead around a lot. Not sure what that's about. Are there a lot of crackheads in Charleston? TJ FaceTimes DJ Maddie Reese to talk about an upcoming trip that they're planning. Maddie brings up her friendship PowerPoint yet again, saying she's never going to show it to TJ. The editors deem it necessary to show us the shoddy design work yet again. And at this point, I feel like the editors are trolling us. We know the PowerPoint she's referring to. We don't need to see it again. If TJ never has to see it, why do we? Brad and Emmy are still beefing. Brad, TJ, and Justin are talking about how excited they are for the tubing trip. TJ says he's not going to get in the water because of alligators. Justin responds with, what you should really be worried about are the brain-eating amoebas. And as a person who likes to swim in bodies of water, be it a lake, a river, an ocean, a pool, etc., I wish people would stop talking about these things. How common are they? Okay, I've done a quick Goog, and apparently infections often happen when it's been hot for long periods, resulting in high water temperatures and low water levels. So you know what? Living in Wellington, I'm good. Zero chance of them being here. Justin tells us that he's going to use the brain-eating amoeba as a scapegoat to act like a terrorist. Just like a man to use a Naegleria fowleri infection as an excuse to act like a fucking dick. Michaels is pissed at Lake for some reason. Perhaps because her name reminds him that he's living in a world in which brain-eating amoebas exist. Emmy tries to pull Brad for a chat, to talk yet again about the microaggression heard around Charleston. Brad's not into it. He shuts Emmy down by saying he doesn't want to talk about it at work. He's sick of Emmy's antics, and apparently Emmy is being silenced. Clearly, she's been consuming too much Meghan Markle. If you were being silenced, Emmy, we wouldn't be watching you in your Edwardian-inspired lace bodycon mini dress, doing a confessional for the TV show you're on. We find out that Michaels is pissed because Lake has been running her mouth to other people at Republic about the microaggression. He doesn't feel like he can trust her now. He's running a multi-million bajillion dollar nightclub, you guys. This is fucking serious business. Michaels and TJ are getting mani-pedis. We see a shot of Michael's long-ass toenails. Seriously? I never need to see anyone's feet on reality TV. Can we please never ever do this again to the viewer? Do you want me to stop watching? I won't, but I will threaten it. Michaels is giggling about how much of a slut he's been this year. He's 23. His frontal lobe isn't developed yet. Go for gold, Michaels. TJ asks a question that we've all asked ourselves at one time or other. Am I ugly? And the thing is, TJ, no one is ugly, because beauty is subjective. There are a lot of people in this world, and all of those people are into different shit, to varying degrees. We see everyone driving to wherever the hell their tubing trip is. And we see Emma driving Lake and someone called Bella. I don't know who Bella is. Anyway, we see them driving and Emmy is trying to talk to Lake about the microaggression situation, which Lake doesn't want to get into because Brad said he wanted to handle it. But Emmy is winding herself up. We see her getting unhinged and saying, I did nothing, in kind of a menacing way. Emmy, chill the fuck out, especially while driving. I'm uncomfortable for both Lake and Bella in this moment. Michaels is kind of losing me in this episode. You're acting like a big old baby, Michaels. Just have a conversation with Lake. He's acting like Lake is the one infested with alligators and poisonous snakes. She can't help her namesake. Joe Bradley lies to everyone's face and says he didn't sleep with the Countess. Both Emmy and Maddie say that they think this is true because Joe gets whiskey dick, a detail I very much could have done without. But he does admit to sleeping over, and apparently Luann made him her famous eggs a la Francais, which Joe Bradley struggles to say. We see them playing volleyball, which Emmy is terrible at. The frustrations for Emmy are endless at this point. On the sidelines, Michael is being a mean girl by bitching about Lake to TJ and Molly. Honestly, Michaels, I have to say that what you're doing to Lake is worse than what she did to you. The episode ends with Lake calling her mother upset, and her mother is on Michael's side. She tells Lake to stop running her mouth, which seems unfair to say the least, because Michaels is now running his mouth about his issues with Lake. Moving on to Ladies of London, episode 6. We see the anxiety fest that is Martha's grottage. The term grottage is concerning to me. Apparently it's a mashup of grotto and cottage. When I think of a grotto, I think of the Girls Next Door and the Playboy Mansion. The pool was called the Grotto, I think. Hugh Hefner and those women are a whole other can of worms that give me anxiety. I don't think of a house that looks like it's straight out of an episode of Hoarders with a psychotic magpie shitting on everything. Martha is unpacking boxes and tells us there's a lot of stuff to wade through still after moving. She says everyone who climbed Mount Everest started with one step, a comparison which is quite problematic. I feel one is very much harder than the other. Also, I believe the death rate is slightly higher climbing Everest versus unpacking boxes in a grottage. Within that, Margot taught her teenage stepsons to completely ignore tits, staring them straight in their face by yelling at them, even though it's a completely normal thing to do at their age, I'm sure. That's definitely a choice. I just realized that it sounded like I said that she taught her stepsons to yell at tits. That's not what I meant. Margot yelled at the stepsons not to stare at tits, to look at people's eyes. Anyway, Margot goes on to say that she's heard plenty of things about Mark Francis. Apparently, she's heard that he's a bag holder for Emma and desperately clutching on to her for social relevance because all of his family disowned him. Coming for someone whose family disowned them is also a choice. Damn, Margot. Also, from what I read, Mark's family disowned him for appearing on a reality show, which would have been way back when he started on Made in Chelsea in 2011, 15 years ago. To be clear, I'm not saying that it doesn't affect him still. I'm saying that it doesn't seem to have affected his social relevance. Micah arrives at Emma's house, and this bitch is never not without a gift in hand. No wonder she's exhausted. Where does she find the time? Not only does Micah bring a hamper full of things for Emma to take on a marathon with her, but she also had all the ladies make a video with words of encouragement for Emma, which is really sweet. Micah really does seem like a genuinely nice person, which makes me wonder what the hell she's doing on reality TV. Over at Martha's cottage, which I keep going to call a cottage, which is a cross between a garage and a cottage, Margot has convinced Martha to get a pet psychic over to assess her demon bird. Margot thinks that Hecate is holding Martha hostage. She may be correct in that assumption. The psychic tells us that Hecate is saying, "I don't do as I'm told," and that she owns Martha. I don't want to rain on the psychic's parade, but I feel like most pets feel that way about their owners. My little ginger dumb cat sits on me as much as physically possible to remind me that I'm his possession. Martha tells us that she thinks the magpie is her mother reincarnate. Apparently her mother is also a massive drama queen who drank too much and liked the company of gentlemen. Upon hearing this, Margot seems to have warmed to the bird. Watching Lottie and her husband Joshua at their pregnancy scan, I find my mind wandering to questions about Joshua's mustache. Does he ever let that mustache have a break? What does it look like when there's no product in it? Is it straight hair as opposed to normal facial hair that all seems to be curly? Does he brush it with a comb? Is it the same comb that he brushes his hair with? How long does it take to get it to look like that? How does he get it so pointy? We arrive at Martha's My Fair Lady picnic in the park. Martha tells us that My Fair Lady is all about taking a flower girl from the streets and making her into a lady. Even Eliza Doolittle at her worst is more composed than these women. Except maybe Micah. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Personally, I think My Fair Lady is about Eliza discovering herself and her abilities. And also makes the statement that you don't have to be privileged to go far in life. Anyway, the ladies are all arriving at the picnic, and Margot arrives wearing a feather jacket, which seems inappropriate given Martha's affinity for birds. Perhaps subliminally, she's trying to get Martha to turn Hecate into an item of clothing. More on that later. Mark Francis arrives looking like he's about to go on safari, and Margot compares him to the man with the yellow hat in Curious George, which did make me laugh. I'm pretty sure Mark is acting obnoxious to get under Margot's skin, and if he is, it's definitely working. Mark Francis gives us yet another children's entertainment character comparison by saying that Margot is dressed like Cruella de Vil. Again, very spot on. Kimmy and Martha have what Mark calls a brawl in the middle of the picnic, and Missay's tits flash to the camera when a gust of wind blows her dress open. We see the episode out with Missay celebrating about Kimmy being brought to tears, over Martha taking Margot's side over hers. Which brings me to Summer House, episode 10. Back to Lindsay's housewarming. Dara and Bailey are clearing the air about Dara being in Ben's room for an hour. And it turns out it's a nothing burger. There's footage of the situation and nothing really seemed to have happened. We meet Ben's love interest, Sabrina, and Jesse tells us that he thought they had been hooking up this whole time, which is probably true. The only thing that I find perplexing is that there was an interview where Lindsay said that Levi, who was/is a cast member of the season, was edited out from a lot of the season because she lied about her boyfriend situation. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but it seems hypocritical to edit out Levi from misleading people about her relationship status when Ben has done the exact same thing. Now I'm wondering if it's a prerequisite on this show to be single. But then we meet Mia's boyfriend, Scott. So clearly not. The rules are obviously not the same for everyone, I guess. We learn that Kyle and Amanda are in couples therapy. OMG. Cannot wait to find out how that turns out. Why are we seeing this? Sabrina is obsessed with Ciara. Welcome to the club, girl. Lindsay gives us one of her famous long-winded and particularly awkward speeches. We then head down to Belmont, North Carolina. where Ciara is walking through her recently purchased house, which belonged to her grandparents. She meets her interior designer and architect there. She tells us that her grandfather was trying to create generational wealth. And for Black families, home ownership is a really big deal because they didn't get to own things for a long time, which is why it's so important for her to restore the house. Back in New York, Mia, Lindsay, and Amanda meet for lunch. And Amanda tells us more about her and Kyle going to therapy, which answers my question about whether the editors will go back in and redo each episode, because they obviously haven't gotten rid of any of the Kyle and Amanda relationship stuff. So clearly they won't be adding any Amanda West shit. I guess they're possibly going to add some of that stuff to In the City, the Summer House spinoff show, which I feel like must be premiering soon because I saw the trailer and there was a snippet of Amanda and West meeting up. I'm interested to see how good that show is. Anyway, Mia is telling us about her relationship and that she has made a contract for her boyfriend Scott, saying that he can't be away for more than 10 days at a time because he travels a lot. Something about opening a lot of restaurants, I think. We learn that Mia has lost both her parents, which is incredibly devastating. She says that when she has kids, she won't have a village to help raise them, which is why she wants to ensure that Scott will be around. Ciara meets up with her mum for coffee, and apparently her dad's going to be pissed when he finds out that she bought the grandparents' house. She tells us about all the hoops that she had to go through to get the house without her dad finding out. At this point, I'm not entirely sure why the father is pissed about the purchase, but we all know family dynamics can be fucked up. Ciara tells us that she hasn't spoken to her dad for 4 years, and she feels like he misconstrues her intentions. Ultimately, she tells us that she wants a place where her kids can grow up and create their own memories with their grandparents. We see people driving up to the Hamptons, and Wes tells us about going to Italy for a wedding. And then we see shots of his weird dance moves. And also he's wearing those Dog the Bounty Hunter sunglasses at night on a dance floor at a wedding. Get back in the bin, Wes. Nobody told you could come out yet. Everything this man does grosses me out now. We then see Mia, Ciara, Kyle, and Ben driving to the Hamptons. Kyle gets PTSD when Lindsay texts him to say thank you for the gift that he got for Gemma. We ask Kyle if he and Lindsay could ever be friends again. He says, never say never. And I say, look at these two now, appearing in Uber Eats ads together. Way to go, guys. Kyle says that it's the 5-year anniversary of his brother's passing, which happens to fall on Lindsay's birthday. And he's been going through it this week. He mentions that Amanda spoke to Sabrina at Lindsay's housewarming, that Amanda told her that everyone in the house thinks Ben is in love with her. Of course she did. As we've all found out, Amanda is a pick-me. Gross. Of course, Sabrina was like, what the fuck to Ben, and Amanda is clearly not doing herself any favors in any aspect. Back then, or now, it would seem. We arrive in the Hamptons, and Ciara is asking everyone if they would like mugs. Yes, please, Ciara. I would love a margarita, thank you. Kyle is pissed because Kyle didn't message him on his brother's anniversary. But on the same day, Kyle did post happy birthday to Lindsay. Kyle was correct. He shouldn't have to mention it. We then see Wes telling Kyle that him not messaging hurt Kyle. And then we see Kyle making a bunch of excuses. About laundry, of all things. Nobody gives a fucking shit about laundry. What the hell, Kyle? Just say you're sorry and be a better friend. Kyle says Kyle cares more about his shitty DJ equipment than he does about any human being. Which I believe. Kyle has his head shoved up his own ass. What else is new? They all then get ready and head out to play golf. And pretty much all of them suck except for Ciara. We end the episode with Ben chatting to Amanda about the whole everyone being in love with Amanda situation. Something I'm not overly interested in, but I guess we'll see how that goes next week. And now we move on to the main event. House of Villains Season 3, Episode 8. We're still in the Stronghold spaceship, and the third person Kate puts up is Christine. Christine is speechless. Great TV, Christine, which means Tyson, Tom, and Christine are up on the hit list. Joel says goodnight, and everyone goes back to the house. Tiffany is pissed at Kate for putting up her alliance. Little does she know that Tom and Tyson are in an alliance of their own. Sorry, New York. Sandoval made Christine a frozen dumpling latte. Christine is dubious. She wants to know if he made it because she's going home. Perhaps she thinks he's poisoned it. Perhaps she thinks this is why Ashley went home. I don't know what Christine is thinking, if anything at all. We then see Christine in a testimonial. And I'm not sure why, but people on reality shows are always comparing themselves to Jesus. I guess it has something to do with their deluded sense of self. Christine says, just like Jesus, she will resurrect and rise tomorrow for the challenge. How are you going to resurrect when you haven't died or gone anywhere? That makes no sense, Christine. Perhaps she meant that she was going to rise to the challenge or the occasion. This did air right before Easter, so the timing couldn't have been better. Jesus needs all of the promotion he can get, she says as sarcastically as she possibly can muster. Paul is a free agent, a messy free agent. He seems like he wants to play both sides. He tries to tell New York how to vote, and she's having none of it. She calls him a stupid, cumbersome bastard. A stupid, cumbersome bastard. And he agrees. Way to go, Paul. Upstairs, Tyson and Tom are talking game. They want to get Paul on side to save their asses. We see Tiffany running up the stairs with more popcorn. At this point, I'm sure her body is thanking her for putting more than just sardines in it. The next morning, we see Tom brushing his teeth and smizing at himself in the mirror. A producer asks him to take us through his morning routine. And I'm bracing myself for this fuckery. He's now channeling his inner Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. We see him not knowing how to use a skipping rope. Someone apparently thinks that face masks exfoliate. They do not. He shaves his forehead, which does exfoliate, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't do anything apart from that. Tom doesn't know what the word illusory means. Neither do I, but I assume it has something to do with an illusion. The word they should have used is delusive when it comes to Tom Sandoval. We then see Tyson FaceTiming his wife and daughter. Tyson tries to trick his eldest daughter, Birkin. Was that her name? Like Birkenstock? I seriously hope I've got that wrong. Anyway, Tyson tries to tell her that Tom and her are the same age. She looks incredibly dubious. Turns out the forehead shaving isn't working that well. Tiffany comes outside and virtually meets Tyson's wife. Little does Tyson's wife know, Tiffany is the other woman. Drew and Kate are in the bar area and looking out at the three of them, and wondering what Tiffany is doing hanging out with Tom and Tyson. Drita says Tiffany has always been pretty tight with Tyson because he's the sleeping giant of the house. Kate then wonders whether there's any way that Tom is the smart one. Drita says absolutely not, and they both fucking L. Tyson, Tom, and Tiffany are talking about the redemption challenge. And after 3 seasons of playing this game, Tiffany still has no idea how it works. Tiffany compares Christine to Alice in Wonderland. Another thing that she has no idea how it works. We get a shot of Christine rubbing her makeup remover on her face in the bedroom, and then struggling to find her way to the bathroom to wash it off. What on earth is happening? This show is extremely entertaining because of how ridiculous it is, but this shit's getting weird. Upstairs, Christine is resting and doing her daily affirmations in her head when she's interrupted by Candy Muse over the loudspeaker. I almost have a freaking conniption when the loudspeaker does a high-pitched ding, and Candy tells everyone to get their ass downstairs. They're all driving to the challenge. Tom asks Tyson how his tea levels are, and they're waning. Apparently he's not feeling himself today, which is unusual. Tiffany says, how can he check them without grabbing his testicles? And I'm getting more confused by the second. Perhaps she thinks the bigger the testicles, the more testosterone? Who knows? Anyway, Kate asks Tiffany how her E levels are, and she's feeling pretty horny as per usual, which didn't really answer the question, but here we are. Paul wants Christine to sabotage Tyson. Drita is on board. She's still pissed at Tyson about the tea party. We arrive at the challenge and Candy Muse comes out. Candy Muse from RuPaul's Drag Race and also Season 2 of House of Villains. Tiffany wants to know why Candy ate her own eyebrows because it's changed the whole shape of her face, which made me lol. Candy is here to host the challenge. She says that she has some old friends to help out. Kate wonders whether Tom's ex, Ariana from Vanderpump Rules, is going to come out. No way, Kate. She's definitely too famous for this show. For Tom Sandoval, we have Tom Schwartz, obviously. We then get a flashback to the battered wife scene with them dressed in drag. A scene that I never need to see again in my life. Tyson is jealous of Schwartz. That's probably the first time anyone's ever been jealous of Tom Schwartz. For Tyson, we have Gervais Peterson. Tyson says that him and Gervais steamrolled their way to the end of their season of Survivor. And Tyson won the million, which was cool for him. And I think to myself, perhaps Gervais wants to sabotage Tyson as well as Drita, Paul, and Christine. Lastly, for Christine, we have Davina Potratz from Selling Sunset. Pretty sure I said that last name wrong. Christine tells us that she's a villain without a sense of humor. The worst kind. I do remember her from Selling Sunset, and I remember her not being a great real estate agent. So this seems like a bit of a setup for Christine to fail, if I'm being honest. Candy says the name of the challenge is Pipe Down. In the challenge, the villains must pull a ring over a pipe without touching said pipe. If it touches, they have to start over. First team to the end wins. Tyson then gives us his best Gollum impression, and he's almost better than Andy Serkis. Just in case anyone is wondering, Andy Serkis is the man who brought Gollum and Smeagol to life in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. Back to the challenge. The villains begin. Christine and Davina are having a terrible time straight off the bat. Davina thinks there's magnets at work, but they're told by the producers that they are not magnetized. For some reason, Christine is trying to figure out how ions work in her head. Just pull the ring along the pole, Christine. My God. The two Toms are struggling. They're beeping and squirting everywhere. I forgot to mention that when they touch the pipe, a horn and a hose goes off. Tyson and Gervais seem to be doing the best so far. Drita says that Christine and Davina do eyeliner and shit, so surely they have a steady hand, which is a great point. Tyson and Gervais beep boop beep and start over. Tyson and Tom are still sucking and making each other wet. Christine and Davina go back to the start. Winner of the challenge is Tyson and Gervais, which doesn't surprise anyone and is super annoying. Christine says being on the hit list is shit, but she's not going to be campaigning, you guys. She is, however, going to be going around everyone in the house and seeing where their head's at and asking if they can please not vote for her to stay. You know? Candy Mew says she'll see everyone back at the mansion later for a party. Then she tells everyone to GTFO. Bye! Sandoval says he's fighting for his fucking life. And the producers make this man do yet again another scene from a movie. He's in his undies, which we don't need to see, and his socks. And he's slip-sliding all over the place like Tom Cruise in Risky Business. I have no idea what the relevance of this is. Is Tom about to turn the House of Villains mansion into a brothel? Who could say? Everyone gets ready for the party, and Candy enters with a bunch of the villains' friends. We see Chef Ben from Below Deck, who I love in spite of how much of a dick he is. He's here for Kate. He says, "What's up, sweetie pie?" And clearly I've been listening to way too much Watch What Crappens, because all I can hear are Ronnie and Ben's impressions of him calling women honey buns, sugar lumps, muffin mounds, biscuit tits. I love it. Drita's daughter is here, which makes her emotional, which in turn makes me emotional. She says that her daughter has no idea the power of her love, what it can do. A feeling I know all too well. Everyone heads outside to the party. Kate and Chef Ben are talking shit about Sandoval. Ben asks, isn't he a sociopath? Kate says, he's a narcissist. Ben responds, they're usually intertwined, which I'm sure is true. We then see that this is Chef Ben's second appearance on House of Villains. Kate informs us that that's only because she was asked first and denied it. Paul is telling his friend from Big Brother that he thinks he'll make it if he gets to the top 3. He thinks he has it in the bag. He says Tom and Tyson are cooked, I guess because they've fucked over too many people, which isn't a bad point. Paul is going to try and hitch a ride with Tom and Tyson to the end. The only problem with that game plan is if Tom goes home, you're screwed. Tiffany's friend Chance, who I believe was on I Love New York, is chewing Gervais and Tyson's ear off about Survivor. He says he loved that show. He went from watching that to watching Naked and Afraid, a show I'm also very fond of. Nothing like watching amateur survivalists in the Amazon jungle getting eaten alive by ants and mosquitoes. Brilliant TV. Chance then starts blabbing on about how Batman hung out with those that turned on him. He continues, just like the Green Goblin and all that. I wonder if anyone has told Chance that those two characters are from 2 different universes. Or perhaps there was a DC Marvel crossover where Bruce Wayne hung out with Norman Osborn that I'm completely unfamiliar with. Anyway, Chance is bamboozled, Tyson the bamboozler himself. Congrats to that, Chance. Candy Muse pulls Sandoval for a chat. They're talking gameplay. Tom says he needs Paul not to vote him out. We then see Chef Ben in the kitchen rummaging through the fridge. He says upon inspection, we need fresh vegetables. Ben would be absolutely shocked and appalled to learn that these people have been surviving off sardines, popcorn, and frozen lean cuisine meals. Christine and Davina are outside and they're still trying to figure out the technology of the challenge that they played earlier in the day. Move on, ladies. There's no point in dwelling on the past. Back in the kitchen, Chef Ben is disgusted with the state of the food situation. He says that pizza sitting out is hazardous, that it has a 2-hour maximum lifespan. I'd hate for Chef Ben to know how long I've left pizza out and then eaten it. Don't you judge me, Ben. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Tiffany is making it her mission to protect white men. She wants us to call her Pocahontas. I'd never seen the animated feature Pocahontas, nor do I really know the story of Pocahontas. Is that what she did? Protect white men? Something about that isn't really ringing true to me. Okay, so I've Googled Pocahontas, and it would seem there's definitely more to the story. In regards to John Smith, A, the romance was fictionalized, and B, while Smith claims that she saved him from death, historians believe it may have been a fabricated story or a misunderstood adoption ritual. What I'm reading is that she was kidnapped, brought to England, allegedly raped and abused by her English captors, and had a child by one of those captors. The last thing I read was she was eventually converted to Christianity and her name was changed to Rebecca. Rebecca? What in the basic white bitch name is that about? Sorry to all the Rebeccas out there, but you have to admit that Pocahontas is a much cooler name. I'm actually not sure if she chose that name or if it was given to her. Anyway, I digress. Tiffany is pissed at Paul for wanting to vote for Christine to stay. She wants Tom to stay. And here comes Chance the Bamboozler. He wants the villains to act like Decepticons. He says, if you gotta decept in this show, you must decept like a Decepticon. Chance is so unserious. I love it. Can we have him stay? Christine tells us there's a lot of gaming going on tonight, but she's just here to party. She says strategy? We don't know her tonight. I'm unsure whether you've ever known her, Christine. We see everyone cutting shapes in the rave tent, but someone is going a little too crazy on the smoke machine. What's the bet that Sandoval has turned it all the way up to 11? Tiffany is trying to get Kate to not vote Tom out. And Kate tells her that she should volunteer as tribute. I know Tiffany likes Tom and wants him to stick around, but she's been here 3 times, so I have to assume she wants to win. New York does not like the tone that Kate is giving her. She loses her shit. Chance says, what about the Lucy and Ethel of it all? And Tiffany yells, they did. They're old and dried out just like this friendship is. Everyone is a gasp, a goop, a gape. Drita is having an emotional moment with her daughter, and she says she's never really done anything alone, and that's why this is important to her. She says, this is so empowering for me because I'm doing it alone. We love an independent bitch. Candy Muse asks the question, who do you trust the least? Kate says Tom. Then they argue about the letter situation, and Schwartz is confused. He thought the letter was a metaphor. A metaphor for what exactly? Keep up, Schwartzy. Candy tells Christine that Larsa Pippen, who was also on season 2, was and still is the nastiest person she's ever met in her life. And she's a drag queen, so she's met some pretty cunty people. Wow, wow, wow. Schwartz then imparts a bit of wisdom to Sandoval. He says, your last defeat isn't your final defeat. He's a modern-day Shakespeare. Sandoval is giving us the sob story that is the bar that both of them used to own, Schwartz and Sandy's. We are then subjected to more shitty trumpeting from this man. Make it stop! I don't really want Tom to be voted out over Christine because I do find him more entertaining and he's also playing a better game. But for the love of Christ, make the trumpeting stop. Chance is flinging melting marshmallows all over the yard outside. We then see everyone saying goodbye to their friends in Farnell. Bye! Tyson, Tiffany, and Tom are trying to convince Paul to align with them. Tiffany reminds Paul that she took a tarantula to the face for him, which is a great point. There's no way in hell I would do that for someone I barely know. I wouldn't even do that for a lot of people I do know. Tom seems to think that him going around telling everyone that Paul is a hero means something to Paul. Nope. Paul hates it. He doesn't want to be a hero in this house of villains. He's actively not listening to the trumpets Tom is playing. He's listening to Tina Turner. We don't need another hero. All Paul wants is life beyond the Thunderdome. Wait, no. He wants life in the Thunderdome, aka the House of Villains. If Paul doesn't vote for Sandoval to leave, all of the shit talk is for naught. Tyson has finished another Sudoku, an accomplishment he shares with Sandoval. Good for you, Tyson. Only 436 more to go in that giant book of yours. Sandoval says his exit line to Kate is going to be, "Good luck moping your way to the finish line with your Mr. Burns energy." He's clearly been thinking about that line for a while. He's positively giddy with excitement to say it to Tyson. We then see the two of them doing their best Mr. Burns impressions. Neither are really hitting for me. Joel comes over the loudspeaker and says it's time to get ready for the banishment ceremony. Tom is trying to get Drita on his side. She then compares Christine and Tom to Barbie and Ken, a comparison I take umbrage with. Tom does in no way, shape, or form give Ken a G. Drita wants to throw Ken in the bin. Tom then goes to Kate and literally begs her to keep him. She's going to make him work for it. Paul is power tripping and everyone heads to the stronghold. Tyson is wearing yet another hideous jacket. Kate takes her throne. Tom and Christine assume their positions by the chairs and make their final pleas. Tiffany thinks Christine is giving Dr. Zeus. I think Christine is giving amateur hour at an improv class. Tom apologizes to Kate and tells her that he thinks she's dope, which is a straight up lie. You think she's Mr. Burns. Votes are in, and the fifth villain to be banished it's a tie. They leave on a cliffhanger. God damn it. Anyway, thanks for listening. Talk soon. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.